Before we begin, I would like to remind you that you can visit my YouTube channel, where you will find scary stories told to me or that happened to me. You will find the link in the description. After finishing his medical degree, Simon had spent several years working at the county tuberculosis clinic. The workload was heavy, the patients were anxious, and the building was on its last legs, falling apart really. It wasn't a place anyone would want to spend most of their waking hours. But as Simon often told himself, we spend a huge part of our lives at work. Why spend it staring at cracked walls and sitting in an office the size of a closet? So when a position opened up at a tuberculosis sanatorium deep in the Pine Hollow forest, he jumped at the chance, despite his colleagues' warnings. The pay was better, the role came with more responsibility, and the place had great potential. Sure, it was a long drive, about an hour out of town, and if you didn't have a car, getting there was almost impossible. The bus schedule was unreliable, and you'd still have to walk another 20 minutes down an empty rural road, but that didn't bother Simon. He saw it as an opportunity. The building itself was old but grand, with stained glass windows, spiraling staircases and gallery hallways. It used to be a wealthy estate from the early 1900s, later expanded into a 3-story sanatorium. The grounds were beautiful too, with sculpted gardens, fountains and walking paths. Despite its history, Simon liked the idea of working in such a peaceful, secluded place. The sanatorium was quiet in a way that the city clinic never had been, and the slow pace suited him. But the further into fall they got, the more the other staff started acting strangely. The first few weeks of autumn, everything seemed fine. But as the days grew shorter, Simon began to hear whispers about a strange rule. No one should leave the building after dark. He had dismissed it at first, chalking it up to superstition, until one rainy October evening when he stayed late to catch up on paperwork. The rain tapped lightly against the window, and as Simon looked up, he noticed it had already grown dark outside. It was only a little past 7. As he gathered his things to leave, he heard laughter coming from the staff lounge down the hall. When he went to hand in his keys at the front desk, the night watchman wasn't there. Strange, he thought, before hearing voices from the small staff break room. He popped his head in to find a small gathering. Nurses, a few orderlies, and the security guard, Dale. They were celebrating someone's birthday, but Simon could sense an odd tension in the air. "Heading out, huh?" Dale asked, raising an eyebrow. "Got your keys?" "Yeah, just heading home," Simon said, offering the keys. "Can you sign me out?" Dale hesitated, glancing at the others. "You sure about that?" "What do you mean?" Simon asked. "That nobody told you?" "Once it's dark, you can't leave the building," said Eleanor, the head nurse, her tone dead serious. "Come on, you're messing with me, right?" Simon chuckled, but no one laughed. The room fell silent, and Simon could feel the weight of their stares. "No joke," Eleanor continued. "It's a rule around here. The sanatorium's built on old land, bad land, some say. You've got to stay inside after sundown or, well, let's just say people who leave don't come back." "Seriously?" Simon scoffed. "What's going to happen? I've got a car, I'll be fine." He pushed past Dale, who was shaking his head and muttering, "Suit yourself." Simon grabbed his coat, feeling a mix of frustration and amusement. Sure, the sanatorium was old and eerie, but ghosts? Curses? That was for campfire stories. Yet as he walked to his car in the parking lot, he couldn't shake the strange feeling in his gut. As Simon started his car and drove toward the exit, his headlights caught a figure walking along the road, a man in a long coat carrying a briefcase. He recognized him as Dr. Henry Callahan, one of the senior doctors who worked at the sanatorium. Simon pulled over and rolled down his window. "Need a ride, Dr. Callahan?" Callahan smiled, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yeah, thanks. My car's in the shop and I missed the bus." "No problem, hop in." Simon unlocked the door and Callahan slid into the passenger seat. As they drove down the winding road through the dense forest, Simon couldn't help but feel the air in the car grow heavy. Callahan was strangely quiet, almost too still. Something about the way he sat unnerved Simon. So, they tried to scare me with those old stories about not leaving after dark. You've heard that stuff, right? Simon said, trying to lighten the mood. Callahan turned slowly towards Simon, his voice low. You should have listened. Simon's stomach dropped as the words sank in. He glanced at the doctor and froze. Callahan was changing. His features distorted, his body seemed to swell, and his skin turned rough and dark like leather. In the dim glow of the dashboard lights, Simon could see the man's face begin to split down the middle, revealing something far worse underneath, something inhuman. Look at me, the thing that used to be, Callahan demanded, its voice now a guttural rasp. Simon could barely breathe. He slammed on the brakes, but it was too late. Long, spindly limbs erupted from Callahan's body, wrapping around Simon as his world turned to black. His scream was lost to the night, swallowed by the endless dark of Pine Hollow Forest. The next morning, the sanatorium staff found Simon's car abandoned by the roadside, doors open, engine still running. He was never seen again, at least not alive. Now his face, along with others who had vanished over the years, hangs on the wall of the sanatorium's main hallway, warning future employees of the price of defying the dark. If you like this video, like it, and subscribe to my channel.